Alrighty, so we are live. Thank you guys for joining us tonight with the stream. I am joined here tonight by a really special guest, by a RightWingSistah, also known as Sunny. How you doing tonight, Sunny?
I am well. Thank you for having me on your channel. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, not a problem. Yeah, so I've already kind of explained it in some previous streams, but I always like to invite smaller YouTubers who are kind of involved in the same niche as me and Classy Liberal here, just to for promotion and meeting new people and everything. So once again, I really do appreciate you joining me tonight. Yeah, I've seen a couple of your videos and just wanted to invite you on because it's not every day you kind of see someone like you who just, your channel name is RightWingSistah. I guess we can start from there. Like, why did you choose to name your channel that way?
Well, it's because it was kind of a play on the lefties. The re ones. They always do like identity politics, and it was kind of a play on that. But it made sense to me, and I was like, well, I might as well stick with it. So I kept it. So it's just, I guess, to show people that you can be a minority in a sense and have different opinions that are not the norm. So that was my intention, was to kind of mock the people who says I'm trans, binary, whatever, whatever. But it kind of backfired, I guess. But I just kept it. So.
Right, right. What is your does your family know about your channel and friends and stuff? Like, what's their reaction? Assuming that, they don't really hold the same beliefs, or maybe they do,
Right. Well, my immediate family, like my mom, my dad, my sisters, we all share the same beliefs. We're all conservative. My extended family, however, they do not hold those same beliefs. There's just a couple of family members that don't really agree with me. And one of those is not on speaking terms with me anymore. But other than that, it's all good. I mean, there might be some people who don't say it to my face that they don't like it, and I can only suspect because that the way that they treat me and my sisters. But it is what it is.
So you have someone in your family who's not on speaking terms with you simply because of your beliefs, or who you voted for, or
It was a specific situation. I remember, like, it was a few years ago. I remember there was like this trend for Black people to stomp on the flag. And my daddy is a veteran, and I was like, why would you do this? My daddy served in the Navy, and that's just like not cool. And she's like, I'll stomp on this flag, da, 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 da. And so I unfriended her, and she unfriended me back and blocked me, blah, blah, blah. And that was that. She's one of those type of Black supremacists, like militant, like Black Panther type of thing.
Sure.
So yeah, she's passionate, to say the least.
Wow. Just, because of I guess that issue. That's pretty crazy. So, yeah, do you like have to deal with I guess when people were finding out, maybe friends or close family, like, hey man, I saw your YouTube channel. Like, what's that? How does that conversation usually go? And, just out of curiosity.
It doesn't really come up. The only time that I ever mention it is like if my daddy mentions it or something. Like I remember his granddaughter came over, and she's joining the Navy too, and we talked a little bit because she was about to go to basic training, and he mentioned that I'm a YouTuber, and I was like, yeah. She was like, oh, what do you do? I was like, I have a channel called RightWingSistah, and she gave me this look like, hmm? Like what? And then she just like went about her merry way. So that's the really only time I mentioned it. I didn't mention it. All my friends know because I lived in East Texas, and pretty much we're all conservative there. I mean, I've been conservative since I guess I was born. I've always thought this way, but all my friends know. Coworkers kind of know.
Okay.
They don't really care, I
Are,
guess.
are you from the South, or where are you originally from?
I'm from Dallas, Texas. I live in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of something that I was thinking about for the, I guess coincidentally, maybe last week or the past couple days. There seems to be like the narrative that like everyone from the South is like completely racist and completely bigoted. And they're just like evil people, especially people who are kind of, maybe live in just, very liberal places, maybe like big cities, California, New York, things like that. Even though when, you go to places in the South, it's like people are very nice. Of course, your experience may be different from mine, but I went to, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and I was in Tennessee where, it was a whole bunch of different people, even Muslims, women wearing hijabs and everything. And everyone was very nice. There was never any, from what I saw, of course, prejudice and everything. And that's something that I seem to like, I get, and you might agree or disagree, where, people kind of demonize people from the South. Especially, white people. If you're from the South and you're white, then of course you must be racist. And of course you must be, they already will have a view of what they think you are, already. What are your thoughts about that? And, maybe your experiences growing up. And so, yeah.
Well, yeah. I grew up in East Texas, and East Texas is like a whole different animal. I got out of there as soon as I could. I'm not a country girl. I don't like outdoor living or anything. I'm very posh and very ladylike, I guess, but not really because I like sports and drinking beer and stuff. I don't know. I'm an anomaly. But East Texas was very, very racist, in my opinion. My friends weren't racist, but their elders, mother, father, grandfather, grandmother, they were racist, and I dealt with it daily. And
Okay.
it didn't really phase me that much. Like I must have some type of superpower to where if someone says racist stuff to me, it's like I don't understand what you're saying. Like it never bothered me at all. But I did get out of there because it smelled like cow poop. So in Dallas, it's like no one. I mean, I see hijab wearing women all the time. I see Muslim men. I see Africans. I see Indians. I see everyone. And I mean, I don't really care as long as they can bring their food. I don't really care because their food is delicious.
Yeah, that Southern cooking is something else. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, I'm sure there was something with everyone I really talked to kind of in this niche. Was there something in particular that kind of inspired you to get on camera and talk about these type of things and put yourself out there? And actually, a lot of people, they don't even show their face. Like they'll hide behind an avatar or something. But you're just like, you know what? Here I am. I'm making my videos. Was there something that happened that kind of just inspired you to jump on and do this?
Well, I've always been a YouTube fan. Like I got rid of cable like in 2011, and so I've been a heavy YouTube consumer for maybe since then. I started a YouTube channel called Sunny Moten back I think in 2010 or maybe 2009. I can't remember. And that's when I started to first upload my whatever I wanted to do. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Um,
Okay.
for a long time. So I tried like let's plays. I tried, just like a vlogging channel. I tried, what I'm doing now, and it never really worked because I tried to do what other people tried to do.
Okay.
But I kind of shut that channel down, and then I made RightWingSistah, and I found, I guess what the topics that I was trying to look for. I don't really, I don't, it's kind of hard to explain, but I've always wanted to do it,
Sure.
and I guess my biggest influence on YouTube was Alfonso Rachel. I don't know if you know about him, but he's this black YouTuber that used to be on PJTV and stuff like that. And he was really passionate. He was a conservative. He is a conservative, and he was really my biggest influence. I like him a lot, Alfonso.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard of him, but I'll definitely look into him after this stream,
You should.
for sure. Yeah, what's kind of just, your take with like, the political climate now? Like, what is just your take, just a very succinctly, very quick summary of like, why do you think like things have become so radicalized? And, yeah, I think it does have a lot to do with social media and the internet and everything, how we communicate and everything. But maybe, what's your take? Like, what's your opinion, and why do you think it's gotten so crazy with this left and right thing, and conservatives versus liberals? Like, what's kind of your take on that?
Well, my thoughts on it is that it's a mess. It's like a big, huge mess, and I think the media is like 85% to blame for it. I don't know why this is happening. I mean, like it seems like right after the LA riots and things, we kind of learned from our mistakes and we kind of calmed down the racism. I mean, of course, racism happens and division happens, but those small instances we kind of ignored them and it kind of went away and we were good. But then something happened. I don't know what, and I don't know what the reasons are. It just kind of blew up in our faces, and there's this ultra mega division, and I
Yeah,
don't understand why people think the way that they do. Like, why would you want illegal immigrants in the country, and why would you want these? I mean, granted, there are some refugees that want to come here and make a better life for themselves, but the ones that I see are military aged men. Where are the women and children? I want them. Give them a chance. So that's my thing.
yeah. The immigration thing is a big thing, especially with refugees. You're seeing the crisis in Europe. I feel like that's a huge thing over across the pond, as they say. That is very huge and is swaying people's beliefs and everything. Um, I guess, yeah, something I did want to also ask you as well is like we have kind of this like progressive label that kind of just puts everything in one bucket. And what I started to notice is when Black people are, wanting to have civil rights and talk about inequalities and things like that, people also like throw in the same struggles of maybe Black people with uh, like gay rights and stuff, where I think someone was quoted saying, I think it was like a famous person, like, oh, it's, this is the modern day civil rights, but for gay people. And I feel like that is kind of insulting and just not the right, because it is totally different. Especially since, if there are a lot of Black conservatives that still do believe in like traditional families and things like that, and it kind of just gets muddy. They muddy the waters and they just throw everything in one pile. Um, what is your take on that, and how things have kind of evolved and everything?
Well, I do agree that the civil rights movement is not the same as the gay rights movement. We are a very accepting society here in America, and I think that whenever a gay issue needs to be coming to light, we roll the red carpet out for them and we make sure that it gets done. And no matter how menial it is, I mean, we make sure that it gets done. But back in the civil rights era, when we wanted something done, we had to fight for our lives for it. And it's not the same. So I really hate it when they say that. I mean, I get that they want the same treatment as everyone else, but I think they have it. Even before gay marriage was legalized, they still had civil unions. It's basically the same thing. I mean, they're all going to get divorced anyway. So, but yeah, it's as far as the just like gay rights in general. I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, I don't really care, but
Sure.
just I don't know. It's just they're making a mountain out of a molehill with some of the issues that they want, and I don't know, being entitled. I guess I don't know. I just kind of
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And Classy, if you want to jump in here, just jump in. But yeah, like I said, it's crazy because civil rights movement. I mean, that's many years, decades, and we've had leaps and bounds with gay rights when it comes to this gay marriage is here and everything. It was much faster, and it's completely a different dynamic between Black people and gay people. It is completely different. It is frustrating that those things are kind of thrown together just under like the progressive label. um you mentioned talking about like identity politics. That's one of the first things you started talking about. um I feel like, yeah, we are kind of in a thing where there's identity politics on both sides now. Well, I guess, but on the left, it's kind of like if it's like an oppression ladder. If
mhm.
you're a minority, and then if you're, your sexual orientation, gay or whatever, then you're even more on the lower strung on the oppression ladder. And then that means that you're special, or you have those kind of victim points.
Mhm.
And then on the other side too, we are seeing, and I feel like this is kind of the fault of a lot of these liberal left-wing people, where they're trying to, something that really kind of piqued my interest is where, we're trying to get rid of racism, we're trying to, treat everyone equal and not have this. And then there's and like I said, if you let me know if you agree with me or not, or just jump in, but you're seeing this influx of what I noticed is just kind of like anti-white uh feelings, where it was like cool, or it was like okay to like bash on white people. And making jokes is okay, like everyone jokes is fine, but it came to the point where it was like, just, that's something too I wanted to ask you about, where they're teaching people in schools now where, oh yeah, racism, it doesn't mean like discrimination of skin color where it applies to everyone. It's actually the definition now means that because black people are and this is what they're saying, this is their definition, not what I'm saying. They say because black people are oppressed and white people are the oppressors, by definition, black people can never be racist. And they can only be prejudiced. Um, and that's something that really, well, I was like, what are we doing here? Because, okay, you can say that, but I feel like that only increases racism, now on the other side, where black people are actually, they're encouraging, or they're trying to say it's okay for minorities to be okay, to shit on white people and be racist towards white people. And from what I see, the only thing that's causing is that's causing racism now from the other side, from these disenfranchised white people. And that's why you're seeing on the internet kind of like a rise in like alt-right beliefs, where people are literally talking about wanting to create like a white ethno state and stuff, when I didn't really remember seeing that a little earlier, and everything. That kind of was a new thing.
Right.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, at first, I threw my echo, by the way.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as the, is it gone? No, okay, yeah, okay, it's gone. So,
Okay.
all right. So the when it comes to that definition of racism, I hate that, because the SJW say, it's prejudice plus power. If you don't have power, then you can't be racist. I mean, just think about it. I mean, of course, some people may not think that black people have power, and I know this is not a popular opinion in my circle, I guess, of black people, but blacks are getting power. They just don't realize how much power that they have. So a lot of black people will stay, you know, just downtrodden and be victims all day long. And some have figured out that you can be a victim and have oppression and get power. Because if you tell someone, oh, you did this, your ancestors did this, they're going to feel bad. That white guilt's going to kick in, and they're going to get what they want sometimes. That's how Evergreen started. But, excuse me. Um, just the whole identity politics thing. I really think that alt right and like crazy lefties are the same. And the only difference is that the alt right is openly racist and these far lefties are not. They closet it. They are racist. They just they just have a different way of doing it. But these alt right people are openly racist because they kind of all want the same thing. They want well, they don't really want ethno states on the far lefty side. They want this like diversity utopia where everyone is the same and all this other stuff. And the alt right, they want that ethno state, but they want all the social things that the left wants. Like the free healthcare and stuff like that. They're pretty much the same. There are some differences, but
Right.
I hate identity politics, and they both do it. Like I'm a white male and no Jews and all this other stuff. They focus on that identity, and then the left is like, I'm a cisgender, whatever, gay person. We don't care. As long
Yeah.
as you can contribute to society, we don't really care. So identity politics is really killing the American dream because we don't really care about your identity. We care about what you can contribute to Western, I guess, society or American society, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny you mentioned that about, the liberals and the left being racist because it is kind of undertones of racism, where the racism of like bigotry of low expectations,
Mm-hmm.
where they're looking at black people as less, as like they can't do anything for themselves, we got to save them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really patronizing, especially, like a black person might be looking at that and it's like what are you doing? Like, you're treating us as weak. We're not weak, you know. And I know that can be very frustrating, and it is, the identity politics, to the extreme, and it is kind of racism, like I said, the bigotry of low expectations. And a lot of people don't really realize that, saying things like, you know, um, hey, it's okay. Like, I'm going to do this for you. You're oppressed and I have to be here to save you. I got to be the white savior.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I find that fascinating, where it's like they think they're trying to fight racism, and it's like, you guys are the ones actually being racist.
Yep. And
Um,
a good example of that is that voter ID law, where they wanted to not require an ID to vote, and they're like, well, what if some people in low poverty places, they can't get an ID, they don't know how to do it. And I remember seeing a video about that. I'm like, are you serious? And so this guy interviewed some people
yep.
in like a lower income. Do you know who I'm talking about? I think his name is Annie Horowitz or something. And he
Yes.
asked a bunch of black people, like, yeah, I know how to get it. It's right there on Fifth and Avenue or whatever.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think he went to like either Chicago or Detroit, and was just asking, like, black people walking down the street, like, hey, like, you guys can get an ID, right? And they're like, yeah, of course, this is where I
Mm-hmm.
go. And then they asked him, like, what do you think about, white people who, or white Americans who think that black people can't get IDs for some reason? And then they would just look perplexed, like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
is that what they believe? And it's part of that, bigotry of low expectations. It's really sick, in my opinion. um, and it's interesting too about how you talk about the American dream, because uh, me personally, I'm an immigrant. I immigrated from Brazil when I was 3 years old, and came to this country, or my parents came to this country, brought me here for a better opportunity. And I firmly believe that no matter who you are, where you come from or what you do, if you put your mind to it, this is the land of opportunity. There's so many countries that, do things different ways. We actually have freedom, to do what we want, to educate ourselves, to create businesses. If you ever try to create a business in some of these European countries, it's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Here we have the liberty of anyone, people who don't people I know people who are illegal, who have, not illegal, but have green cards and are starting businesses,
Yeah.
because America provides that opportunity. Um, and then you have the left narrative that's telling people that, especially minorities, telling black people, telling, people, if you're gay, if you're, have a different sexual orientation, oh, you can't do it, you're oppressed, you're not going to be able to do it because there's going to be some sort of invisible force stopping you. There's white privilege is going to prevent you from doing what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
um you
Yeah,
know
last time I checked, affirmative action doesn't apply for white people.
True.
And last time I checked, there aren't that many government programs made specifically for whites. They're usually made for minorities. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have some of these, but like last time I checked, like the government programs that are in place, they're made for minorities. And the sad truth is, a lot of minorities don't often take advantage of them.
Yeah. When I went to university, someone who was white and had better, or yeah, I guess the same grades as me, I was more inclined to be accepted into the university because I'm Latino, or I can put on the quota that I'm Latino. So that means I'm more, I have that privilege. The
Yeah.
white people don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like that. It's like, oh, that's an unfair system. But it's just an example of, like, hey, like, minorities actually have more privilege than white people.
I
uh
agree.
so this is what you're not seeing. um But it is interesting. It kind of just falls in place too with what you're saying, that you come from a military family, from a traditional family, because I believe that is the true indicator of success. Whether you're black, white, any color, any background, your indicator of success is going to be if you come from a house with two parents, two loving parents. As long if you have that, no matter your economic background, the statistics show that you're going to be more inclined to succeed. And that's something too is that's something I feel like isn't really talked about when it comes to the problem with trying to fix what's going on in the Black community when it comes to education and all these things, is that there's been, and it's only been within the past couple of years, the huge increase of like lack of fathers in the home, and that is essentially what I feel like is affecting Black people in inner cities and everything. Is the most is the lack of the parents. I hear it where it's, people say like, yeah, I grew up, I just had a mom, she had to work multiple jobs, and then I was basically raised by my sisters or my brothers. And then sometimes if they don't have that structure in the house, so they don't have that structure in the house, and then they try to find that fatherly figure somewhere else from the streets. And then that is what contributes. And this is not, of course, just with Black people. I mean, this is with Latinos, any ethnic group. But that's what happens, and that's what creates that cycle of poverty and just not a good future and everything. And that's that's something too that also is being attacked is as traditional families and stuff. I feel like, just not really emphasizing the importance of that traditional family. And also something too, Classy Liberal and we had a debate about abortion, and I didn't really get to bring this up that much, but, I'm obviously completely against abortion. And a lot of people don't know that the founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, she was, I mean, you look at her quotes, she was pretty racist. She didn't think much of Black people. And there's some pretty racist quotes that you can find of hers. And abortion affects Black people the most because they, out of all the ethnic groups, Black babies are the ones that are being aborted the most. And then that view of abortion is pushed with the left narrative, where it's like, if you don't agree with abortion, then you're bigoted, you don't want women to have rights. And then they don't realize that this is affecting the minority communities the most.
And I'm really passionate about abortion because I'm pro-life as well. And I did a whole video about, is Planned Parenthood good for women, on my channel a long time ago, probably almost a year ago now.
Yeah.
And not only is she, like Margaret Sanger, the most racist person I could ever imagine, she didn't like anyone. She didn't like Black people. She didn't like brown people. She didn't like anyone with low IQ. She didn't like anyone with any type of mental disability whatsoever. So some of the stuff, like I went to the library and I read her book called The Pivot of Civilization, I think. Oh, it is a tough read. I mean, because it's boring for one, but it's like the way her mind thinks is so, like, she's so, like, she puts herself on a pedestal because she thinks that what she imagines the human race should be is perfect. White, smart. She would have been, if she would have been a man, I guarantee she would have tried to get some type of power to become a dictator and rule the world. Because, like the next Hitler, because, back then, they didn't let women do much. But she did enough. She made Planned Parenthood. They keep her legacy to this day and try to disguise it as rights. And nowhere in the Constitution, I know the Supreme Court ruled in favor of, for the Roe v. Wade, for the abortion and everything, and that doesn't make it right. But there's no constitutional anything protecting abortion at all. People try to say it's the Ninth Amendment, I think. That's for privacy. I can't remember which one the privacy one is. I'm like, that doesn't correlate, does not compute. And then there's something else. I can't remember what their argument was, but it doesn't nothing about healthcare is covered in the Constitution whatsoever. So there's no rights, and they say that abortion is healthcare. So how can it be covered in the Constitution? How is it a right? It's not.
Right. Yeah. And this is a very touchy topic. Like I said, me and Classy Liberal had a debate on this, and I'm going to get your take in a second, Classy Liberal. Someone from the chat here saying abortion isn't great, but I think it's necessary in certain cases. And I would, I would disagree with that. We talked about in our debate, in our abortion debate, we talked about health of the mother. Everyone brings up health of the mother. Everyone brings up cases of rape and incest. And I put the very controversial opinion that, you know, should a woman have the right to abort a baby if she was raped or had, or through incest? Maybe. But I personally don't think she should, because I do personally know someone who was raped and had that baby, and and it's her son, and she loves her son. I don't think she's looking at her son all the time and thinking of the rape. Or I can't. I mean, I can't obviously say that 100%. I'm not inside her head, but for a lot of cases, I don't think it is necessary when a lot of people think it is. And our laws shouldn't be dictated on those, 1% of the 1% of cases of rape and incest. They want to, they want to base the law around something that's so rare, because that's not when women get abortions. You're seeing the increase in abortions, and that's happening. They're kind of using it as birth control. They're not doing it because they're being raped and incest or having incestual relationships. And that's something that Classy or Liberal, that you were bringing up too, that his main sticking point was about women's rights, and the government shouldn't, dictate, what a woman does. I don't want to put words in your mouth. What was your kind of take, Classy Liberal?
Yeah, so my view was that I argued from the libertarian perspective, which is the role of government is not to legislate morality, but rather to protect people's rights. So someone might think abortion is wrong, someone might think abortion is right. It's not a matter of the government, it's between the woman and the doctor. And I don't think the government should decide, um, you know, what the woman should do. It's um, that's basically my point.
I think that argument works for marriage, maybe. I don't think the government should have any say in marriage and who you should marry. I think that should just be between the person getting married and whoever is marrying that person. I don't think it should be recognized by the government. I think it's silly. But with abortion, it's just, no one should tell a person what they should do with their body, but it changes whenever there is a different entity, a different set of human DNA inside the woman's body at conception. That's scientifically proven. So, I mean, the only time I could see abortion being an option is if life's mother is in danger, if the mother's life is in danger. I can't talk. But yeah, I mean, and medical advances are happening every single day to where that baby can live. I've seen not seen, but I've read about studies where an ectopic pregnancy happens, where a baby is formed outside the womb, and they literally put the baby back in the womb or put it where it's supposed to be, and it survived. It carried a term. I don't know how many times that happens. I don't know how far along the baby was. I just read about it, but those type of cases where the baby is, formed outside the womb, ectopic pregnancy, those are serious. It can definitely kill the mother and baby. So I understand why sometimes they terminate the baby, and sometimes they can even go infertile after that because their uterus is like all messed up. But all these other cases, if we got rid of all of these convenience abortions and just had those instances of rape, life, and rape, incest in the life of the mother, abortions will go down so significantly. And we just have to teach better safe practices or stay abstinent. Abstinence works 100% of the time. I know that's not what people want to hear. I'm not perfect. I'm not a virgin, but I'm not pregnant either. So
Well, I
children.
mean, I would disagree because at least on the abortion, well, I also disagree on the abstinent thing. But I would disagree on the abortion thing is that sure we could teach people sort of like the value of having children and starting a family, and how that's ultimately going to be better for them in the long run over having an abortion. I think that I'm all for, societies who are telling people that abortion is not going to be the great choice for them. But I don't see why we have to use government to uh, teach them that. I think we could just use our culture. Um, you know.
Sure. Yeah, our culture could definitely use an upgrade when it comes to that, because we are dependent on government of like way too much, even though we're supposed to be free and all that. Um, but yeah, I think that we should just, if we had whole families like you was talking about earlier, a mother, a father, and not just the single mother as it always is most times, then we would have a better stable family. And I don't know why some of these people in government are set on breaking that apart, but it's we would be a lot better as society. We were already at the top. America's like the number one destination for everyone in the world, but I mean we could do a lot better if we had the mother and the father and stable family. Mental health, we need to overhaul that too.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's interesting that you bring that up because I feel like with the like there's also a lot of like feminist talking points that are like trying to teach women that well not, I guess not teach women, but there is kind of this narrative where women are kind of discouraged from maybe having families and they have to they have to go to school, they have to have the best career ever, even if women but women are biologically made to carry a baby, and they want to have children for the most part, not all, everything is, it's not a not all. um and now you have women who, if they want to stay home and take care of their baby or have a family, sometimes there are they're kind of like what I don't want to say made fun of, but there's
They're looked down on.
what was that?
They're looked down on.
They're yeah, exactly. They're looked down on if they don't want to have a career and be this, crazy, a woman who's climbing the corporate chain. And then that also plays into the gender wage gap that is talked about all the time about, women, they make 77 cents to the dollar that a man makes. And that's a quote that even Obama back in the day was saying in his speeches. And it's like, we need to stop this. This is ridiculous. And it's like,
Obama's dumb.
yeah, it's dumb. And I know this is obvious, we're kind of beating a dead horse here. I've literally got into arguments with people on Twitter, basically saying like, hold on, so you're telling me that I can pay a woman, it's right now women are being paid 77 cents to the dollar a man makes. As a business owner, shouldn't I just hire women to like have lower labor costs?
Yeah, and people don't really realize, where that stat comes from. And to go back on, the whole feminism thing about women saying, "Oh, you have to climb the corporate ladder, be like a man," and all this other stuff, it ruined my chances. Like I've been single for a long time. Lots of men think that I'm one of these feminists, and they don't think that I need a man, and they think that I can do for myself, which I can. I've been, look at all this. but but I literally like for a long time I've always said I want to be a housewife. I want to marry someone who can take care of me and I can just take care of babies. And I haven't found that yet because all these men think I'm some type of feminist, and they are like, oh, I just want to have fun. I don't want to get anything serious. I'm like, no, I'm trying to find a husband. So goodbye. So that's my struggle. Thanks, feminists.
So you're saying like in your social life and everything, you're seen as that?
Yeah, basically, yeah. And then they ask me like, they ask me sometimes like the guys are like, oh, where are you from? How old are you? That's great. That's great. So how many kids do you have? They ask me that from the jump because I'm this black female, and they assume that I have kids, which I don't have kids. And
Wow.
then they're like, ooh, I want you. I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't get me. Bye.
Yeah, that is kind of patronizing. Jeez.
It is, yeah. I get that question a lot.
Right. Yeah, that isn't like a narrative. It seems like something that the whole gender thing is gotten out of control. It just used to be feminism, but nowadays you seem to see where like women are encouraged to masculinize and have masculine traits and thoughts and things, and then males are like feminized and taught to like have feminine traits and stuff, because we're all a blank slate. Everyone's born, we don't know people's genders. That's the argument they want to have, and they're actively teaching in schools. You're having gender studies professors in universities, really you know pristine universities, teaching kids like, oh yeah, there's no difference biologically between a man and a woman. And it's nonsense. And I always preach the thing that, like, with this feminist thing, I'm against feminism, not because I believe like this machismo thing that men are superior to women, but I believe that men and women have we both can do things differently, and we're supposed to complement each other. That's I believe in the traditional relationship between a man and a woman, because we're totally different creatures, and men can do things women can't do, and women can do things men can't do, and that's the kind of the union, and that's what's going to make the best family environment for kids or for children growing up. And that's like I said, that I feel like that's being thrown all out of whack. And with the whole gay and transgender thing, I grew up and was like, what, I don't care, like, let people do whatever they want, which I still believe that, obviously, to an extent, because now my main gripe is where they're kind of pushing this to kids, where now you're literally having drag queens come into libraries. There's this famous picture in the I think it was like the Michelle Obama's library, where they had a whole bunch of kids, elementary, sitting with their kids, and there's like this drag queen who has like a hat, and it looks like horns. It looks something satanic, and she's reading books to kids about kids being drag, and about kids being, teaching them about things, in my opinion, that they shouldn't be taught. We shouldn't be teaching kids about sexuality. The longer you can keep a kid innocent to those type of things, the better. After puberty that's you start teaching them about sex and sexual relationships. The earlier, right, the earlier you do it, that's only going to be detrimental to the kids. And that's my main thing here. I just wanted to read something really quick here from the chat. Toom is saying, ouch, where is she finding these men? So, and I have Odin here. He says, I'm European. We have a lot of feminists here encouraging women to have less kids or none at all. And then we get told, on the other hand, we are not breeding enough, so we need mass immigration.
True. The lefties they're never self-aware. They always contradict themselves, and they can't ever keep a story straight at all, ever. So it's I don't know. Like, I don't get the far left at all.
Yeah, they're discouraging families. They're discouraging people to have kids. Abortion everywhere, and women don't have kids. It's crazy, and that's not good for society in the long term. In the long term, so these are things. Obviously, we're thinking on the same frequency. So, I wanted to ask something else here, unless there was something else you wanted to bring up, or Classy, if you wanted to bring something up.
I guess maybe if you don't mind, I could sort of voice my disagreements in the whole abstinence thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
So my view is that abstinence works when you actually practice it, but not when you teach it. The thing is, teenagers sort of they naturally want to rebel, so there's always going to be teenagers that just aren't just going to listen, though. So for those that don't listen, I think that we should still teach abstinence, but we should also still teach like using condoms, using protection, that sort of stuff. So like if they do choose to rebel or whatever, and have sex, whatever, they can at least take precautions and necessary precautions. You know.
Right. I definitely agree that, sex education is something very important in schools and it should be taught. And I'm not necessarily saying that's the abstinent has to be taught in schools. I'm just saying that that's the only thing that's preventative of pregnancy. It's the only proven method that's 100% effective. My mom, she had her first child while on birth control and he used a condom. So they used double protection and she still got pregnant. So, I mean, protection works for sure, and it prevents lots of STDs, even though they are rampant in North America. It is crazy,
Oh yeah.
but it's also, I'm not, like I said, I'm not perfect. I've had sex before, and yeah, I just if we want to control the population of the world, which everyone is claiming is a big, huge issue. We're going to run out of resources. That's why abortion is important because overpopulation, which I think is kind of crazy. But if you're really serious about it, because sex is fun, it feels good, and that's the only reason why people have it. I think you can go without, maybe use something else, and then that'll be that. But
Right.
that's my opinion. That's, what I think.
Yeah, and with abstinence, I feel like nowadays there's no excuse when it comes to birth control. I mean, there's so many things out there, to prevent pregnancy and all these things, STDs, even though, as you mentioned, STDs is on the rise and running rampant in North America. And I think that has a lot to do. I read this article saying how Tinder is kind of responsible for that because people,
Mm.
is a huge hook.
Gender? God.
Yeah, Tinder, because there's like a huge hookup culture and people are hooking up more than ever because of the internet and everything. So, take that as you will. With when it comes to the abstinence thing, something that I talk about on my channel that a lot of people don't really, I don't know, agree with or don't even understand sometimes. The thing with abstinence and with birth control and having sexual relationships is that, and Sonny, you can give me your perspective on this if you agree or disagree. Women who I feel like women who are like they have sex more or have more sexual partners, like the more sexual partners a woman has, the more she feels like uh, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but maybe less of herself or, has regret. There's there in the 90s, there was these TV shows like, Sex in the City, where it was so cool for women to like basically, with the advent of birth control, because before birth control, men could, they could have offspring just having, they're not the one that carries the baby. The woman would have to be more careful to not get pregnant because, it's kind of like, it's one and done, you're the one carrying the baby.
Right.
And then also culturally, if you had a baby out of wedlock, it was like a huge deal, back in the day, like you were looked down upon and, it was very culturally, like bad, Oprah Winfrey talks about her experiences back in the day and how she had, very tough experiences with her father because she had a baby out of wedlock and just, very tough, tense family dynamics.
Mhm.
And, obviously she, grew up, back in the day. But yeah, I feel like after the advent of birth control, which I think was in the 60s or early 70s. I could be wrong on that, but sometime around there.
Mhm.
With that, women kind of took that masculine role where it's like, what, we can have sex whenever we want and it's okay. And then, yeah, those women weren't having babies anymore. However, that kind of like messed with like relationships and how people view sex in general. And like I said, there have been studies showing that the more sexual partners a woman has, the less gratified she feels, the less happy she feels. Even if in the moment it's what she wants to do, it's consensual, and that's what feminists are teaching women, that it's empowering to do this, to no more, it's no fuck slut shaming. There's no such thing as slut shaming, and you should be able to do what you want. And they're promoting that message, but that only contributes negatively towards women's mental health and how they view themselves and everything. So yeah, what's your take on that? If you agree, disagree, of course, classy, jump into.
Well, I want to jump in and say that I definitely agree that feminists are ruining I guess the image of a woman. It's called feminism, but femininity is taken out of it. So feminists don't want. Huh?
No, just saying that's true.
Yeah, yeah. So they take their sexual power, I guess they want to call it, and they're like, oh yeah, we are sexual beings and we want to express ourselves sexually. So if I want to be a stripper or wear this short skirt or whatever, I'm gonna do it. And then as soon as a guy says, "Hey girl, you looking good," oh my god, the patriarchy. What am I gonna do? I'm being oppressed. So it's
Yeah.
either one or the other. So a lot of feminists will say that Nicki Minaj was empowering for making that song Anaconda. I'm
Oh
like, really?
no.
That was an empowering song? Are you serious? But then, as soon as a guy wears a shirt, I don't know if you heard about this story about this NASA guy. He wore this shirt and it had some woman on it that was scantily clad, and he
Yeah.
literally put a probe on Mars. And he wore this shirt and he had to apologize for it. I'm like, you a sucker for apologizing for one. And then two, it was made by a woman. It was to show her sexual, empowerment or whatever they want to call it, and yet he still got demonized for it. So you cannot win when it comes to these feminists, and they literally have ruined, I guess, the state of a woman, and it's messing men up. They don't know what to do. They don't know whether or not it's if if a woman is being like sexual empowering or if she's just doing that to get with the guy. It's confusing for people. It's confusing for me, and I'm a woman. So,
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny too because you have a lot of transgender. I know some transgender people through social media. There's a transgender conservative. Her name is Susanna Bras. When she
I
goes,
love her.
yeah, yeah,
Opinionated European, right?
yeah. So on YouTube, she's opinionated European. She's doing some good stuff here now on
Mhm.
YouTube and everything. But I really liked her interviews because she would say like, yeah, I feel like and this is the case with many transgender people too, where if they're obviously male to female transgender, they will emulate like the classic idea of a woman, like wearing dresses, wearing high heels, having like that 1950s kind of traditional woman look.
Mhm.
And she says how I love it, like feminists are telling women that is oppression and you are seen as below a man, and that's disgusting and everything. But then you have many look at what's her name, Caitlyn Jenner. It's the same thing. Like, they want to rock it. Now that they're women, oh, we're gonna wear dresses and heels and lipstick, and we're gonna be like women. And if you're transgender, you don't get criticized for wanting to act that way and be that way. But
Right.
if you're an actual woman, then no, you're discouraged from being that way. They want to masculinize you. And I always find that very intriguing. Especially with the transgender thing.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts?
Classy.
I see
Yeah.
liberal.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. So going back to like the earlier topic about the whole, I guess it was about like promiscuity among women
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So I would slightly disagree. Like I would agree with the fact that like yes, we have a lot of these intersectional feminists like saying that oh, if you're not having all this type of sex, if you're not experimenting like 24/7, you're being oppressed or whatever. I think that's wrong. I think sex for the sake of having sex is just not going to be good in the long run, and that at some point in life you're going to want to be with just one person. You're going to want to eventually have a family, but at the same time, I don't think that people should be shamed for uh having casual sex from time to time, for having these sort of one night stands from time to time. I think that that could be good in sense that like they could gain experience from that. Of course, stay safe, wear protection. If you're a woman, take the necessary precautions. And of course, you're a guy to carry condoms. But I don't think I don't like I'm not one of these feminist types, but I think like slut shaming is sort of an issue though. I think that many women are sort of shamed for just sort of enjoying themselves and that men, they don't really have this issue. In fact, there's kind of celebrated for it. I think that whatever people do behind closed doors, as long as it's consensual and it doesn't involve children, it's just no one's business, you know?
Or animals. Don't forget animals.
Yeah,
Oh, for sure, for sure.
yeah, and this is why I love having classy liberal here, because we disagree on a lot of things, and that's why I brought up, with when it comes to one night stands, you know, in the moment, sure, it could be pleasurable and desirable for the woman, but in the long run, it is shown that, like I said, the more sexual partners a woman has, um, she usually regrets that later down the line. Usually a middle-aged woman, she's not like celebrating the fact that she had sex, 15 one-night stands. Usually she's going to feel bad about that in her later life.
Right.
For the most part, obviously not all, everything's not all right. But yeah, that's my opinion, and you have yours, and that's cool. We think differently, but I'm coming from a place of like, well, I used to think about like you before, but have kind of changed over time. But that's why I like you having on here, and like we're not going to always agree on things, but it's always fun to have you. Cool. So moving on to some current events, I wanted to maybe touch upon, I guess I haven't had the opportunity to talk about this with somebody in a while. As you see, we've recently had the protests in the NFL, like they had that rule. Have you been keeping up with that?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I love the NFL. Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys, yeah. So yeah, they had that the NFL, for you guys that don't know, and National Football League, it's been kind of a controversy for the past, I guess, year and a half, with NFL players taking a kneel in a form of silent protest to protest against from what they believe police brutality and things, inequality for Black people in the United States. So they're taking a kneel, saying that, they don't feel like they're equal in America. And this has been very controversial. People have gotten upset about it, mad about it. It's kind of divided the country. And now they have this new rule that they implemented where, if you're on the field, you have to stand for the flag, and you have to have, you can't be kneeling. And if you want to not participate in it, you have to stay in the locker room, which I don't know if is going to go well. My personal opinion, which I got a lot of heat for, I did make a video where I basically said that I agree with the protests. Well, I don't agree the reason they're doing it personally, but I believe in the act of protest. America is about silent protesting. We live in a country where there's so many different countries, countries that have like royal family. If you diss the royal family, or if you speak negatively on the royal family, and I know it's like in Indonesia, a lot of Middle Eastern countries that have royalty, like you can literally do anything except you can't criticize the royal family. It's not even make fun of them, like criticize them, or they'll throw you in jail or they'll punish you. And we have the rights in America to do that. Like, that's why I love, like, people. I'm not a Trump supporter, but there's people out there like saying, fuck Donald Trump, I hate him, I'm gonna fuck him and everything. And we live in a country where people are allowed to do that. You're allowed to not like the president. You're allowed to say things like that. And I think that's an awesome right that we have in America. So around the time that this issue was kind of a hot topic, I made a video saying, hey, I played football before, and when you're in a locker room, you're playing with, you kind of form like a brotherhood and a little, you see your teammates as brothers. And if I was in the NFL, and I know if I had someone on my team that wanted to silent protest, I would support him, even if I completely disagree with the reason, because that's not the point. The point is that America, we have the right to protest. But a lot of things people say, it's like, oh, well, this is different because, they're NFL players and they're being paid millions of dollars, and, they're basically working for the NFL and for these owners. And if they don't want it in the workplace, then they're not allowed to do it. They shouldn't be allowed to do it. I totally get that, but what other way are, it's just a silent protest. Like, you're just kneeling. And a lot of people too conflate the issue where it's like, oh, if you're doing this, it's because you disrespect the flag and you disrespect the country. Even if they come out, these players are coming out saying that, no, we're not doing that. This is not about the country. This is not about the military. This is not about nationalism or patriotism. This is about this issue that we want to bring awareness to.
Right.
And then people will straw man and say, oh, well, you don't like the country. You don't like the military. And it's like, it's kind of like a cognitive dissonance.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. What's your take on it? And Classy, you can jump into.
My take on, I did a video on it as well, and it was literally named "NFLs have free speech too." NFL players have free speech too, and I didn't get the whole backlash on it. A lot of people boycotted. Like, what? If I could just kind of sidebar, I don't get why conservatives boycott everything. Stop boycotting stuff. It doesn't work. Anyways. So I didn't think that it was such a big deal, them kneeling with the flag, because, like I said, they have rights. And now that they have this rule, they have to abide by the rule, because I guess the NFL is a private company. I'm not sure how that works. But as long as they have the rule, then they have to follow the rule. I know they may not like it. The reason that they were protesting, Black Lives Matter and all that other jazz, I didn't agree with it. But, I mean, if they want to do it, Colin Kaepernick is all salty. He's not in the NFL. It's because he's not a good player. It's not because he protested. But it is what it is.
Yeah. And Classy, did you have a take on that?
So sorry, I was kind of on break. So I assume you guys are talking about the whole NFL kneeling movement.
Yeah.
And
Did you know about the new rule that came out, right? Or you're not familiar with that?
I think that they're not like allowing them to kneel during the anthem. Is that it? No.
Well,
They have to go in the locker room.
Well, if they want to not participate, they have to stay in the locker room. If they're on the field and they don't participate or kneel, they can get fines imposed on them.
I mean, they're a private company. I guess they can do whatever they want. But I would say I do support the rights for the football players to kneel if they want to, even though I don't agree with their politics or I don't agree with the reason for kneeling. I don't think government needs to get involved, or I don't think society needs to shame them or anything. Just whatever, don't pay attention to them.
Yeah. I didn't get the whole backlash against it, honestly, because I thought, because mostly conservatives are for free speech, and they're like, they shouldn't be able to kneel. I'm like, but you're a conservative, you should be for free speech. They didn't get it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I don't completely agree. I sympathize with their cause. I don't think it's the right way, but that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. My opinion is irrelevant. I agree with the right to protest, especially when it comes to like Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, look at schools. Like, fun fact, I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and Jehovah's Witness, they tell their kids not to stand for the flag because they see any sort of like patriotism or like reverence for the flag or the country. They see it as idolatry, and they see it as they're basically taught in their church that anything government related is satanic, and Satan runs all the governments. So don't pay attention, don't follow the government. They're not allowed.
True.
Yeah. They tell their members not to vote. And yeah, there was kids that I knew that were Jehovah's Witness, and they didn't stand for the flag and they didn't want to, and that's sometimes that's a controversy. Like, I've seen articles of teachers like getting super upset with getting super upset with kids not standing and everything, even though kids, if a kid doesn't want to stand for the flag, he has the right. And you being from a military family, Sonny, you should know more than anything that the soldiers and everything and the military, they die for our rights. They die for those rights. They die, men and women put their lives on the line so we can have the choice to do what we want. And that's why, you have people out there cussing out and, saying they hate the president. Awesome. That's your right to say that. And, God bless your right to do that, because many countries don't. And that's why American men and women put their lives on the line to do that. Speaking of Colin Kaepernick, though, he was very close to landing a job quarterback job with the Ravens. I don't know if you kept up with this, but Ray Lewis, who is a Hall of Fame retired player, he played for the Baltimore Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of like trying to help Colin Kaepernick get a job with the Ravens, and something happened where Colin Kaepernick's girlfriend tweeted out a picture of Ray Lewis hugging either the coach or the owner of the Baltimore Ravens organization, and next to the picture, it was the picture from Django Unchained with Samuel L. Jackson's character, who was kind of like the stereotypical Uncle Tom hugging Leonardo DiCaprio, which is like was his master.
Mm-hmm.
Basically trying to tell and saying that Uncle or Ray Lewis is an Uncle Tom and he's a race traitor and stuff like that.
Right.
That's something too that I really like. It's very frustrating and very infuriating. I'm sure more so for you and for other Black Americans who think like you, where it's like if you have a certain opinion, if you're not Black, you can't speak on these subjects. And if you are Black and you don't have the right opinion, you're an Uncle Tom, you're a coon. And it's so ugly, and it's so just, they want, like, people want Black people to think as a monolith and not as individuals. And it's like, Black people are going to have all sorts of opinions. They're all different people, individual people with different experiences. And then they use these words to control people, coon and Uncle Tom. His girlfriend released that picture, and then that's why the deal went through. This happened, I think, like about a year ago. What's kind of your take on that, and with this whole thing of, like, I'm sure with your channel, and with your views and stuff, you've been called those names.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah.
That's like the number one name I get called is Uncle Tom, or you love white people, which I love everyone. I mean, I love white people, brown. I love everyone. I'm the most compassionate person ever. Like, I mean, I don't know anyone literally who has more compassion than me. I want to help people, but it's the way, whenever I see someone that's Black and has a different opinion, and then Black Twitter just comes for them and just dunks on them with stupid insults and stuff like that, I feel for them. And I'm just like, I stopped arguing with these people long ago. They're not worth my time. But it is sad that they think that Black people have to think a certain way, because if you think about it, especially Black men, me and my sister was talking about this. Black men mostly think like conservatives. They love guns. They always want to start their own business. They're entrepreneurial. Their spirit for entrepreneurship, I guess is the word for it, is really, really massive. They always want to honey, a girl, whatever. So they want a family most of the time. But they still vote Democrat. I mean, they mostly have conservative views, but they're taught to think that whitey is bad, and therefore we must vote Democrat because they're for the Black people somehow. Even though Democrats started the KKK and all that, the party switch is a lie.
Yeah, that's a myth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is pretty interesting what you say about Black men, and it's like, for the most part, they should be. To be honest, it's because I've seen comments where it's like Republicans are racist. They think right wing, or they think the word or the term right wing or conservative, and they've been brainwashed to automatically think racist or they're against Black people. And that's what's very frustrating. It's just a dogma that they've been fed and that they've bought into, to be honest, and that's why this happens. So we're coming up here on the end of the stream here, but I just wanted to watch a really quick video here. I think you already saw it and might have already seen this with the pre-stream here before we started streaming. But I wanted to show this to the audience if they haven't seen it, and then maybe we can talk about it. And like I said, I'm pretty sure you've already seen it, or people have already seen it. It's the thing where the Kendrick Lamar brought up the white girl on stage to rap his song, and then things didn't go well. So I wanted to play that real quick, if that's cool.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I should be sharing the screen. So we're playing.
Are you ready? You ready? What's your name?
Delaney.
Make some noise for Delaney right now. She said, "When we started at?" I told you every time.
Where I got you.
Rules and clips, all gotta know. They probably got me down by the end of the song. Seeing like the whole city go against me. Every time I'm in the street, I hear them down, waiting for. Wait.
I'm not doing enough. What's up, bro? What's up?
My boy Roland kind of knew the rules a little bit.
It was just really cool, bro. You have to work.
You gotta bleep one single word
No.
though.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I do it?
And you did it.
I'm so sorry. Oh my god.
Should she say it?
Please keep me up here. I got you.
You sure?
I swear.
You got it?
I promise. Sorry about that.
So we won't watch the rest of it, but she gets kind of flustered. If you haven't seen the video, the end of it, she kind of gets flustered and can't rap the rest of the song because of this embarrassing moment. But
he
yeah,
knew what he was doing. He knew he was gonna bring up some white girl. It was all planned.
yeah. I that's what I thought. As soon as it was happening, I was like, oh shit! Like, you know, why'd you bring her up there? Like, you know what song you're gonna play? Why'd you bring her up there? You know.
If you go to a rap concert, all you will see is white people. Like, I've been to probably 3 or 4 rap concerts, and it's like overwhelmingly. I know that's like the bigger population, but overwhelmingly white. Like, it's
Yeah.
quite surprising.
Yeah, and it's just because white people make up most of the population. Yeah, and they're gonna be the majority there. But yeah, I just found that interesting where it's like everyone was booing her. I mean, as soon as I saw this, I just started busting out laughing. I was like, oh man, like you are not setting yourself up. But I wanted to get your take on this with white people saying that, or anybody saying the N-word, and when it comes to music, and it's like, if you I love hip hop. My whole channel, Revenge of the Dreamer, is based on a J. Cole mixtape. J. Cole is my favorite rapper. And this is kind of like a talking point where it's like, you don't want white people to say the N-word, but then you'll put it in your lyrics. And then, what's kind of your take on that and your perspective on this?
I mean, basically what you said. If you don't want white people to say the N-word, stop putting it in your song. I don't really care either way. You can say it to me in a racist way, in a non-racist way, in a friendship way, like "What's up, nigga?" Whatever. I don't care. I mean, as long as you're not like coming after me over and over and over, it's gotta be really excessive for me to for it to bother me. But it doesn't. Like 99.99% of the time, it does not bother me. When PewDiePie said it, it didn't bother me. When IDub said it, it didn't bother me. When whoever says it, I don't care. It is a word made by racists. Somehow blacks made it theirs, and they don't want no one else to say it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It is just a word.
Yeah, and it's like I get the thing where it's like, hey, we don't want this. I mean, we don't want this white girl on stage saying nigga. Like, we don't want that, and I get that, and I completely understand that any black person feels that way. I just found it interesting. And then there's people saying that she's racist and stuff. It's like, she's not racist.
I mean, she went to a Kendrick Lamar concert. She's not racist.
Yeah, she's like, she knows the lyrics. She obviously is a fan of the music. She's paying money to Kendrick Lamar to come to this concert. She's obviously not racist, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people really don't know because I grew up around racists. If they're racist, they're not going to listen to your music. They're not.
Right.
They can probably keep up a facade to maybe impress their parents or whoever they are trying to. Maybe they're down low. They want to be racist to impress someone, but they're really not. But most of the time, you're not gonna go out of your way, pay tickets close enough to for Kendrick Lamar to notice you and bring you on stage to sing a song.
Of course, of course. Classy, what do you have an opinion? Or I think he might have.
Hold up.
What's up?
Yeah. You know, personally, I don't really use the N word that much, but it's kind of weird because I grew up at all. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I don't use it at all. I mean that's just me. That's just my personality. But in my area, it's a very Latino area. Yet people use it all the time, and it's not really considered racist or anything. It's only in the colleges where people avoid it because you know you know what's going on in the colleges. But where I grew up, like in my school, it was overwhelming Latino, 90% Latino. Everyone used that word with each other. No one really got offended or anything. The black students didn't really care, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, some people take it to the extreme where it's like, you know, there's obviously a difference between when it ends with an A and then it ends with an ER, and it's in our pop culture. I mean, it's like I said, every single hip hop song you see, you know, they're saying the N word, and it's not like the derogatory N word. It's like, you know, it's transformed into, you know, you know, when people say nigga, it means like, you know, my compadre, my friend, my buddy,
My neighbor.
yeah, my neighbor, yeah. Obviously, there's nothing derogatory about it, but you know, me personally, you know, I have, you know, growing up, I was, you know, Latino. I had black friends, Latino friends. They called me, you know, hey, what's up, my nigga? And I would never say that because, you know, it usually comes off like as corny and try
It
hard.
just sounds weird to me.
It sounds weird. It's not my place. It's not my place. And you know, it's, you know, that's not what I'm about. But yeah,
I say it whenever I'm playing video games or I'm in a road rage. So that's what I.
oh really?
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and there are some black people too that I've met where they're like, I hate the fact that it's become this word, and they won't say it. They don't say it at all. Not even the, you know, with the A, because they hate the fact that it's become this thing. You know, and that's their opinion. And you know, people lie on different parts of the thing. There's other black people that are like, hey, no, this is our word. We took it over and everything. But yeah, I just found this video interesting and just obviously wanted to get your perspective and everything. So yeah, unfortunately that girl has just, you know, kind of dug herself a hole with that whole thing that she decided to do. But
I just want to add that it's just cringy when these artists always bring like an audience member to sing a song because you paid a lot of money to see the singer, to see the performer, the rapper, whatever. I didn't pay $800 just to see some person who could barely keep a rhythm for 5 seconds or who's tone deaf. You know, so most of these things, I mean, most of the time it's just really cringy to watch it, you know.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, they do that all the time where they'll invite someone on the stage and everything, but
I mean, I guess it's supposed to be fun, but I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, I've been to concerts and seen videos of people doing that in concerts and stuff, and it's not just, you know, this isn't an isolated. This happens with concerts and stuff. So, yeah, that's kind of just the current event of today of just what happened previously with, you know, Kendrick Lamar, which I am a huge fan of. So yeah. We're kind of at the end of the stream now. Was there any kind of closing thoughts or anything you wanted to say or bring up, or any one of you guys?
Subscribe to my channel. RightWingSistah.
Yes, everyone watching, please go subscribe to RightWingSistah. The link is already in the description down below. I had a very lovely time with you tonight here. Like I said, I very much appreciate you joining us tonight here. You know, like I said, you could be doing anything tonight, but you decided to jump on here. Any one of you guys, you're more than welcome to use any of the clips of this stream. If you want to upload the whole stream, I don't care. I'm gonna be making some highlights of this stream and uploading the video to my channel. Like I said, you guys are more than welcome to do that as well. If you ever want me to jump on your channel to talk about something, the invitations are, you know, out there. If you want to shoot me or have me on to do something, I'll be more than happy to do that. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us tonight. I think this was a very cool and intriguing discussion.
I enjoyed myself.
Yes, I'm very glad. So yeah, if you guys want to keep up with more, please make sure to subscribe. We're trying to do this live stream every once a week, usually on the weekends. So I appreciate you guys joining tonight, and we will catch you guys in the next stream. Have a good night.